from Georgia is recognized for 2 minutes? 4 minutes, I'm sorry.
Thank you. All right, thank you, and I appreciate the gentleman from Colorado and also the gentlelady from California. But, Mr. Speaker, I rise today and I'm in reluctant opposition to H.R. 1044. This is not something I would like to be, but this bill could be better. In fact, it's not going to do what it said it will do, and that is a problem. Current law states that nationals of one country can receive no more than 7% of an employment-based green card allotted each year. H.R. 1044 removes the 7% cap, effectively moving the employment-based green card categories to a first-come, first-served basis. Okay, that's fine. The bill also raises the current annual per cap on family-based green cards to 15%. Okay. But to be clear, I agree with the concept of eliminating the per-country caps on employment-based green cards. In fact, I think that there probably should not have been a cap from the onset of this, but Congress did not place a statutory per-country limit on green card issuance. As a result, has been an extremely large backlog of nationals from certain countries who have approved green card applications, but whose green card is not available and will not be for several years. So I understand the desire of many, including the distinguished lady from California, who I have great respect for in this field, and also my ranking member, and many others who have signed on to this bill. But I believe many people who signed on to this bill to a bill that would actually be put together and actually be able to work. They did not sign on a statement bill that will not be able to work, in which the agencies have already said they can't. And before anybody says that there's 300+ co-sponsors, remember, this Congress also took up a bill called ECPA, which had almost 400 co-sponsors, but still went through the process of actually being changed and marked up, which is a distinct difference in this bill. So just because you have a lot of co-sponsors doesn't mean always that it's right and can still be perfected. In fact, it's wrong to tell communities that this bill will help them when in actuality it won't. This is the problem I have. The bill was introduced in February, it was placed on a consensus calendar last month, and now on a suspension calendar today. Neither the subcommittee nor full committee had a hearing to look at this issue in this Congress or any potential ramifications of the legislation, and the committee did not mark up this bill. So those of us who support the intent but have concerns about the factual text have no opportunity to formally hear from agencies affected by this legislation or even outside groups and individuals affected. When my colleagues took over, they promised regular order. This isn't regular order, especially with a bill of this importance. Lack of process is a big concern of mine, but even more troubling is the substantive provisions of the bill and how they are not only ambiguous at times but unworkable. I will give you some examples. Section 2E1 of the bill states that during implementation transition period, visas shall not be allotted to immigrants who are natives of foreign state or dependent area that is not one of the two states with the largest aggregate numbers of natives whose beneficiaries of approved petition for immigrant status under such paragraphs. What does that mean? How is the USCIS supposed to interpret it? Does it mean the largest aggregate number from the time that green cards were first issued, or does it mean something else? I know that previous versions of this bill have tied such transition to a specific fiscal year, but the language here is ambiguous and is based on interpretation by the agencies that could have very different ramifications. In fact, the agencies have said they don't know how to interpret this. The agency who will be in charge of this said, we can't do this. That should ring true with every member in this body. More concerning, however, is Section 2E4, which pretends to ensure that aliens for currently approved green card petitions are not adversely affected by lifting of the caps. The bill states that the visas shall be allocated such that no alien prescribed in subparagraph B receives a visa later than the alien otherwise have received said visa and had this act not been enacted. But the premise of the bill and the idea that approved aliens cannot be adversely affected is not true. Either the visas are first come, first served, or they're not. And the agencies that would have to carry out this legislation would not be able to move people up in line to comply with the first come, first served, while at the same time ensuring visas for already approved beneficiaries are taken care of. There are a finite number of visas available every year. I need another minute.
I'd yield another minute to my friend from Georgia.
Gentleman is recognized for another minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So it is reluctant that I stand here against a bill that I inherently agree with. In fact, the speakers that have spoke already, I agree with, and the speakers who are going to come forward, I agree with you. Except for one thing, don't promise something to groups of people that you can't deliver on. We can deliver with this bill. We have an opportunity to say no right now, fix this, and come back and have a unanimous vote. But don't send a bill just because it makes us feel good and we're promised to somebody. This is not my issue with this bill. My issue with this bill is that it's not right. It's not ready for prime time, and it's definitely not ready for suspension calendar. We need to make it right when we come to this floor. I think the chairwoman has done a great job in trying to get it there. I believe my ranking member wants to work it, and I am willing to, as I expressed to the chairwoman as well, to make this right. This is not the time, even though we have a lot of co-sponsors, if the co-sponsors would simply read the bill and understand the problems with the agencies and then go back to the communities advocating for this, they cannot look them in the eye and say, this is your fix. As I've said many times from this floor before in the last 6 months, Mr. Speaker, what makes you feel good doesn't often heal you.
Gentleman's time has expired.